In this video we're going to assemble the cuffs. So if everybody did their homework, we should have two of these fully sewed up, leaving a little bit of space to lift up to put the cuff on both sides. So remember, we started out with this. We started with just the 5 pieces. Now here is 3 of those pieces assembled. Now we're going to start the cuff. Now to start the cuff, this is where I use, it's recommended but not necessary, this is where I use my, I always like to call my third hand. It's just a clip. You treat this bump as just a straight line. And try to match it up as best as possible. This is leather, so it will stretch a little bit. If it's not a perfect fit, you can always pull the stretch. You need your punch, which is recommended but not necessary. And you start off doing your punch along the seam here. Remember to leave a little tie tail. The good thing about artificial sinew is that you just melt it onto itself. And it makes a forever knot. It's very durable. You also don't really need to use this long a string at a time. So you can always, if you use smaller chunks, you just start sewing the back way, tie off, and then you start again. Because everything you're doing now will be on the inside of the glove, so you won't really see it. I usually try to space this little ridge in between. That way the thread will hold it tight. This is where I mean with the stitching to hold it in. Go around that. Yeah, so it's pretty easy just sewing here. Just go straight across the back. I thought I'd show you how to assemble the cuff on. I'm pretty sure you guys know how to sew. So I won't go into detail about how to sew everything. Probably some of you can sew better than me. And you sew back onto itself. Now, as you see, this doesn't line up 100% perfectly, but you have to remember that you're going in 1/4 inch anyway, so that will be fine. And again, all this sewing is going on the inside of your glove, unless you want gloves that are inside out. This is where that spot gets held down tight now. Probably could do this really fast with the sewing machine. But then it wouldn't be hand sewn. Now this leather was purchased, but it's not really necessary. When you first start out doing a lot of leather work, reuse as much as possible. Go to the thrift store. There's tons and tons of leather jackets that people get rid of. The outside of the leather might be scuffed, but all you have to do is use the suede side, which would be this side that you'd put on the outside. You'd keep the smooth side in. Same way with furs. I very seldom will purchase fur. I will see what I can get from the thrift store first. There we go. Got a tie. This will be a shorter video because it should be relatively easy to remember all this, or shorter. Well, maybe not. That's for melting later. Now you flip your glove over. You do your other cuff. Make sure you get your leather the right way. Line up the edges the best you can. Again, I use my clip. It's not required, but I highly recommend it. Now this punch is not required, and for the ones that can do beadwork, that beading needle, I think I'm saying it right, the beading needle is perfect to go through this thinner leather. Leave a little tail. Just move here. I know if you get leather from the thrift store, your projects are much cheaper. I would recommend that to anybody, especially starting out. That way, because a leather jacket from the thrift store is maybe 20 bucks at the max, 20-30 bucks. And usually with the leather jacket you get the wool sleeves. I have decided to make a video on the liner, but it will be at a much later date. But it's very much done the exact same way that you're doing this right now. I know by making your own gloves, you'll definitely appreciate the time that you make it. And if you make the gloves really well, it very much will be your last pair of gloves that you'll ever own, providing you never lose them. Or in my case, sometimes family comes over and borrows. I've lost a few pairs of gloves that way. Especially when you go snowmobiling, because these gloves are extremely warm on the snowmobile. there's really not too much to say other than this. You just take your time. Take your time, respect the leather, and you'll get a good product. Okay, so now your cuffs are on. Well, at least partially. Check your stitching. Looks good. Looks good. So basically, you line up your edges again. And you sew down the side. It'll take you a little bit, then leave you on your own. Same way as the other side. Happens sometimes, the punch does go through but doesn't get rid of the end, or get rid of the inside. There we go. Just makes it harder to see on the other end. So there you go. I think you get the point that you'd go down this end, then you'd come back over to this end, and you just sew, then you turn your glove inside out, and there you're complete. So I hope you enjoyed the video, this video series. After you've done that, you'll be complete. It'll be a while before I do a liner video, but just continue on making this. I've explained how to do the liner. The liner's done exactly like this, just with wool. If you have a sensitivity to wool, you can use some type of a blanket. It's the exact same sewing pattern. The only thing is that you do not turn your liner inside out. You keep it, thread goes to thread, so sewing goes to sewing. So this would be turned inside, this would be on the inside, and if this was your liner, it would slide in like this. So hope you enjoyed, and enjoy.